Part 246. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2455. Mrs. Tang smiled and took her hand and said, let's go up. I asked the banquet hall to prepare their good dishes early in the morning. Man Bao and the others followed her upstairs. Entering the private room, Man Bao only saw Wang Rule sitting not far from the window. His eyes were still looking down. He turned his head when he heard the movement, and when he saw Man Bao, he smiled and stood up to salute, and then asked, Master Zhou, is he seriously injured? Man Bao didn't expect her to ask this, and was stunned for a moment before saying, it's not heavy. Wang Rule smiled. Her face didn't change much, but Man Bao could see that she was a little disappointed. After thinking about it, she said, no bones were hurt, but the flesh wound is the most painful. He estimates that it will hurt for half a month. Wang Rule was faintly happy, nodded and said, I know that feeling, it will take about a month to recover. How did these young gentlemen suffer from such a crime? Even if they are good, they will be slower than others. Man Bao raised his eyebrows and nodded, not bad. Wang Xiniang, and Wang Wuniang on the side heard it, and their faces became a little ugly. Even their husbands couldn't help but look at each other when they heard it, and felt that they were lightened just now. Listening to what my sister-in-law meant, she was very experienced in this and obviously got beaten a lot. The young man on the side was the most angry. He was so angry that he directly kicked the chair and turned around in anger, Miss in the lobby, why didn't you let me hit me a few more times? Mrs. Tang gave him a sideways look and said, what's the hurry, the days are still long, this is not something that can be solved in a day or two. I called him today, and he will be healed in 10 days and a half, you can look for it again. Just go and beat him up. The eldest ladies and husbands on the side, what's the matter with the sudden fear? If only Man Bao was the only one, but Man Bao also brought Lu Huan and Yin Or. Mrs. Tang couldn't say much, so she took Man Bao's hand and introduced her to her sisters, this is my third sister, this is my fourth sister, fifth sister. Then introduce their husbands. Madame Tang smiled and said, the third sister and the third brother-in-law were originally in Yangzhou, and the fourth and fifth sisters came here specially after receiving my letter. Originally, I wanted to drag people into the alley and beat them hard. But there are other plans at home, I can't beat people here, so I asked you to come and take a look. Then he introduced the young man who was a little grumpy, this is my fifth brother and Rule's younger brother. You can just call him Goro. She smiled and said, Goro is still studying. You are all scholars, so you can just talk. Wang Wulang knew that Zhou Man was treating his elder sister's illness. He heard that if it wasn't for Zhou Man's actions, she would not have survived for half a year, so Wang Wulang's eyes were red, and he immediately bowed to Zhou Man and said gratefully, thank you. Lord Zhou is seeing a doctor for my sister. Man Bao smiled and said, this is my duty, and your family also paid for it. Okay, don't be polite to her. If you're grateful, just send her some more medical fees later. Madame Tang pulled Man Bao to sit down, and then introduced Bai Shan and others to them. Lu San and the others were startled, no one is an ordinary person. Several people looked at each other, greeted them with a smile, and then sat down separately. Mrs. Tang said that the banquet hall should be prepared early in the morning, and it really was prepared in the morning. Every dish that was served was made by their chef, so it tasted better than others. Man Bao eats very comfortably. After eating and drinking, Madame Tang pulled Man Bao and said, let them talk about literature and classics here, and you can go to the Yinlu with us. She smiled and said, since I promised to give you a gift, I have to give it a good one. We will pick it now. Man Bao, this is the special gift you said. Isn't this special? Mrs. Tang smiled and said, this silver building belongs to my third brother-in-law's house. There is a craftsman in his family who is very good at making gold. I think you have a lot of pearl jewelry and jade jewelry, but gold there are very few decorations, so I can just pick one now. She smiled and said, I think you're about to get married, so bring more jewelry on your body. When Wang Rule heard this, he was refreshed and smiled, is Lord Zhou getting married soon? Then I will also give Lord Zhou a set of jewelry. She and Wang Sunyang smiled and said, third sister also knows that I'm very poor now, so you have to count me cheaper. Wang Sunyang laughed, you are making things in your own silver building, will I take your money? So a group of ladies surrounded Man Bao and left, leaving Bai Shan and others behind. Bai Shan watched them go away, and then took his eyes back. When he saw the cup he touched, he raised it with a smile, and calmly asked Wang Wulang about today's matter. Because it involved the secret affairs of the boudoir, Man Bao did not tell Bai Shan about Wang Rule, so that Bai Shan had no idea why the Wang family beat their uncle. Mrs. Tang took Man Bao to the silver building, because it was the silver building of Wang San's mother's house. They sat in the VIP room to choose, and they talked while choosing, and their privacy was absolutely guaranteed. To Man Bao, Mrs. Tang and Wang Rule had nothing to hide. In fact, they had always been in her eyes, and they even relied on Zhou Man to cover up and pass on them for the first 2 months. They couldn't hide it at all. Wang Rule took the initiative to tell her, Master Zhou, I want to reconcile. I wonder if my reputation will affect you. Man Bao was stunned and asked, how does it affect me? She is not a girl from the Wang family. Wang Rule smiled and said, some doctors are taboo to treat people like me, especially when Lord Zhou is still taking care of nobles in the palace. I am afraid that you should be more careful in these matters. Man Bao waved his hand indifferently and said, I see a doctor, I only see a doctor. Mrs. Tang calmly took a sip of tea and said, I'll say you think too much. Not to mention that Man Bao is not such a person, even the few of us who are familiar with Lu Tai would not care about this. Man Bao nodded, but the fire of gossip in his body was raging. Seeing that Wang Rule didn't seem to mind, she asked, Harmony, isn't it easy? Wang Xiniang, who was on the side, snorted coldly, it's not easy, but it won't be difficult. As long as the family agrees, their husband has made such a big mistake, and they don't dare to break up. It might be difficult to deal with people like the Lu family and the Kui family. They may be willing to be rotten in the pot and not willing to divorce, but they are still very sure about the Ma family, because the Ma family can't fight the Wang family. Wang Xiniang thought of something and turned to look at Wang Wuniang, the second aunt won't make a sound, right? Wang Wuniang's face paled, and she squeezed the handkerchief in her hand and said, no, my mother regrets it now. She didn't expect that the Ma family would dare to treat sixth sister like this. Madame Tang lowered her eyes and did not speak. Wang Xiniang snorted. In the boudoir, she has the best relationship with Wang Rule, and the temperament of the eldest sister is the most similar. The ones that she dislikes are Wu Niang and Er Niang. If you don't like it, you will appear petty, and conflicts at that time will be trivial. But now, she still scoffs at Wang Wuniang's words. Don't ask me why I'm kneeling, probably because I don't have eyes. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2456. Several of Wang's sisters have a good relationship. After getting married, it seems that what they miss most is the restrained and arbitrary life in their youth. Although they are not from the same family, they are of the same clan, and they all live in Wangjiaxiang. This family used to be that family, and it was very close. Most importantly, they studied together in the family school. Small conflicts in youth become insignificant after marriage, especially when family interests are involved. No matter how unconvinced Wang Xiniang and Wang Wuniang were when they were young, or how much they disliked Wang Liuniang, today they will take a unified stand on this matter. Whether it is Heli or something else, the Ma family has to pay a serious price for this. This is not only to safeguard the dignity of the Wang family, but also to safeguard the interests of the Wang family's daughter. Otherwise, let it go lightly this time, and other husbands' families will follow suit in the future, thinking that they don't have to pay the price for bullying Wang's daughter. Thinking of this, Wang Wuniang couldn't help complaining about her mother. She really couldn't understand what she was thinking when she sent sixth sister back to Ma's house. Because of Zhou Man's presence, Wang Wuniang didn't want to talk about this in too much detail, so she smiled to please Madame Tang. Madame Tang snorted coldly, then turned her head and said to Man Bao, "You can choose more for a while. Last time I saw a silk-wrapped gold bracelet that was very well done. Try it out and see if it fits well." When Wang Wuniang heard the words, she immediately said to Wang Sunyang, "Third sister, tell them to bring things up. If Lord Zhou likes it, I will give it to Lord Zhou as well. In the future, sixth sister and Lord Zhou will take care of it more." Man Bao didn't take money for Wang Rule's medical treatment. How could he accept so many gifts, even if Mrs. Tang gave her, but others did not dare to accept them, so Man Bao declined. Mrs. Tang pressed her hand down and said, "Don't say no to the fifth. My fifth sister is short of everything else, except for the money. She and the sixth are cousins. What's wrong with giving you a set of jewelry?" Wang Xiniang looked at Madame Tang, then looked at Wang Wuniang, and smiled. "That's right, those of us who are a few floors away from sixth sister heard that Lord Zhou tried his best to sixth sister and wanted to give more things to her. Let alone such a close relationship between fifth sister and sixth sister, this is all as it should be." Wang Wuniang nodded again, and must be accepted by Man Bao. Man Bao looked at Madame Tang and nodded slightly. Man Bao, who took the bribe, was tangled. How could she choose the right one that was cheaper? As a result, Mrs. Tang didn't give her a chance to choose at all. She just sat and acted as a tool person, and delivered a few trays of things. While chatting with them, Mrs. Tang held the jewelry and kept reaching out to Man Bao. She has decided what she wants. They are all very beautiful craftsmanship. Even if she is young, wearing these gold jewelry will definitely not look old. Madame Tang became happier the more she dressed up. She inserted a hairpin with a golden phoenix into Man Bao's hair, looked at it and said with a smile, "Yes, let them comb your hair for a while. This golden hairpin, you can wear it even when you go to the palace to attend a banquet." Wang Sunyang looked at it in a daze, not knowing who this golden hairpin belonged to. It was originally prepared by Wang Sunyang for Wang Rule, and the value was not low. Wang Rule also thinks it looks good. Mrs. Tang took it down with a smile and handed it to the girl on the tray. She said, "Take a box and pack it, and I'll give it to you." The girl responded with a smile. Man Bao couldn't help looking at her suspiciously. "Sister-in-law, do you have anything else to ask me?" "Little conscience," Mrs. Tang nodded her forehead and said, "I bought it specially to reward you because of your hard work for the past 2 months. Mrs. Tang is not stupid. How can she not know how difficult it is for Zhou Man to ask for a leave of absence from Huangzhuang to see a private clinic? According to Tang He, officials in the DPRK have even mentioned impeaching her before His Majesty's eyes." Mrs. Tang looked at her and said, "You are not too young. Although the pearl flower is convenient and concise, occasionally you need other jewelry to set it off." Mrs. Tang carefully picked out gifts for Zhou Man, and even distributed jewelry to the sisters. In the end, the girl behind Man Bao carried 3 big boxes. Madame Tang looked at the time and invited her, "I don't think it's too early. Why don't you live in the city tonight? I have a courtyard in Yangzhou. You live with me. As for Bai Shan and the others, they live in an Ingo Inn." Man Bao was surprised. "Are you going to start at night?" She said with a tangled face, "This is not good. The secondary injury can easily hurt the bones. Even if the bones are not injured, the meat may be killed. Why don't you wait for half a month before continuing?" Wang Sunyang and others. Madame Tang said angrily, "What are you thinking about? Who said I would beat him again? But you reminded me, Madame Tang said thoughtfully, it's not near to Bingzhou to go back from here, don't let his injury heal, you have to find an opportunity to beat him again when he is about to arrive in Bingzhou. Just do it. Man Bao turned around and left, and Bingzhou was too far away, so she couldn't help. Madame Tang grabbed her, aren't you going to pick up Bai Shan and the others? She didn't stay strong, but seeing that they insisted on going back, she let them go. The girl put 3 big boxes on the carriage, and then stepped aside to send them. Bai Shan drank a lot of wine, and his face turned a little red. Lu San and the others took him down, and hooked his shoulders with him, patted his shoulder and invited him loudly, next time brother goes to the capital, I will invite brother Bai to go there. Drink a jar in the Zhuangyuan building. Bai Shan nodded with red eyes, and was helped a little staggered into the car. Lu Huan and Bai Erlang also fainted, except for Yin Or, because he didn't drink a drop of alcohol. Although Lu San and the others were not from the capital, they had heard of Yin Or's name and knew that he was not in good health, so no one dared to persuade him to drink. There were 3 people in the car, Man Bao and Yin Or did not get in the car, but left on horseback. After leaving Yangzhou city, Man Bao exhaled and asked Yin Or curiously, why did Bai Shan drink so much wine? Yin he just laughed, he's a cliché, and he has to drink. You haven't seen Wang Wulang, he's already drunk. That's right, I didn't see Wang Wulang just now. Man Bao was curious, his alcohol intake can't even compare to Bai Shan. Yin he smiled and said, he is upset, and Bai Shan deliberately quotes, if he drinks 1 cup, the other party can drink 3 or 4 glasses in a row, no matter how good the amount of alcohol is, he can't resist drinking like this, and it's not just Bai Shan who pours people out. Wine, I don't think Wang Wulang's eldest husbands are good people, and they are also drinking him clichés. Man Bao, aren't they from the same group, why are they still talking? Lu San and the others didn't know until they arrived at the restaurant that they came to Yangzhou to vent their anger on Wang Liuniang. They only knew that Ma Hongzhong had beaten Wang Liuniang. See you at 6 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2457. Yin Or thinks that his 6 sisters are powerful enough. After all, none of them are fuel-efficient lamps. I didn't expect that the girls in the Wang family are more powerful than his sisters. Back in Zhuangzi, Bai Shan and the others drank a bowl of sobering soup that didn't taste so good, then leaned on the couch and said to Man Bao, sister-in-law and the others are too good. Before Lu San and the others came, they didn't know about Wang Rule, but the couple received a letter from Mrs. Tang, saying that the sisters had not seen each other for many years and wanted to get together in Yangzhou. It just so happened that the Qingming festival had passed, and everyone was at leisure. The 3 families felt that it would be better to go to the capital and Yangzhou, just to get in touch with each other. Wang Xiniang, Wang Wuniang, and Wang Liuniang were all married close, so Lu San met Wang Wuniang and his wife and Ma Hongzhong, a group of 5 from Bingzhou. Wang Xiniang knew the inside story, but Wang Wuniang and his wife and Ma Hongzhong didn't know anything. They were happy when they met last night. Today, Mrs. Tang specially asked everyone to go out together, saying that Wang Wulang, who was studying abroad today, is also here, and everyone can attend the meeting. Dinner in the banquet hall. Then when they arrived at the banquet hall, before they sat down, Wang Wulang immediately started. Bai Shandao, actually, Wang Wulang arrived 2 days earlier than them. He even went to the capital to meet the 6th lady of the Wang family. He came here specially to give his sister a head start. If it wasn't for Madame Tang's pressure last night, he would have gone early. Ma Hong was hit. Bai Shan frowned slightly, and couldn't help asking Man Bao, I listened to them, the marriage between the Wang family and the Ma family can't continue, and that Ma Gongzi beat up Wang Liuniang. Man Bao took a sip of tea. He couldn't say too much. He just said, this person is scum, and the sixth lady of the Wang family will definitely not be able to survive. Bai Shan smiled slightly and said, no wonder, I heard that the patriarch Wang will handle this matter himself. It is also because of this that Lu San and the others are willing to do it. But Lu San was still a little angry about what was being slandered, so after returning to the yard where he lived, when he saw his wife, he turned his head to the side, kicking and not wanting to pay attention to her. Wang Xiniang handed the things in her hands to the girls and let them go down, and then said, are you angry? Lu San snorted and ignored her. Wang Xiniang sat next to him, without a smile on her face, and said to him, if you want to be angry, you can turn your head and hit me. Just one thing, Ma Hongzhou goes out and returns to Bingzhou in 2 days, you follow Wulang and beat him again. Pause. Lu San couldn't help looking at her, aren't you afraid we'll beat him up? Wang Xiniang sneered, if you beat him, you will beat him. If you want me to tell me, the eldest sister is just too cautious. Such a scumbag is handicapped, and the Ma family doesn't dare to say a word. Lu San was silent for a while and then asked, what's going on? Why did I listen to Wulang's meaning? All this alarmed the uncle. That is the head of the clan. This kind of thing usually doesn't alarm him. If it does, it's not a family matter, but an entire family matter. Wang Xiniang burst into tears, covered her face with a handkerchief and said, you don't know what the beasts of the Ma family did to Lu Niang. Ma Hongzhou beat Wang Rule several times, so that she did not talk about miscarriage and almost died. But this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that the entire Ma family bullied Wang Rule. Their family dared to detain Wang Rule and not let her go out for a few years. Even a servant in the house could bully her. Wang Xiniang's face was gloomy and cold, this is putting our Wang family on the ground and stepping on it. If we endure this tone, let alone us girls from the Wang family, the gentlemen should not go out. Lu San was startled. He didn't expect Ma Hongzhou to be so courageous. Lu Saburo looked at his wife and thought, it was him who was so bullied by his wife, he didn't dare to do anything. Wang Xiniang suddenly turned to look at him and asked, do you think Ma Hongzhou deserves to die? Lu San was so frightened that he immediately nodded again, and hurriedly said, yes, yes, damn it. Wang Wulang also felt that Ma Hongzhou should be damned, so he was a little dissatisfied with Mrs. Tang's letting go like this, and was planning to quietly beat someone again. As a result, before the person went out, he was blocked by Mrs. Tang. Seeing that he was about to go out with his servants with the spirit of alcohol all over his body, she said, beat people with the spirit of alcohol, I tell you, before your sixth sister and your departure, if you beat people out, it's good or bad. Come, she will be stuck in the Ma family for the rest of her life. He dares. Mrs. Tang sneered, what do they dare not? You think he dare not do it, but he has done it? You think the Ma family dare not bully her, isn't the Ma family bullying? Wang Wulang's face was ugly. Madame Tang said, okay, hurry back to sober up your wine, the pain in your body is only temporary, the pain in your heart will last forever, the most important thing that the Ma family imposed on Lu Niang is not these flesh and blood injuries. Wang Wulang asked, how can I make their hearts hurt? Madame Tang turned around and said, let them burn like a fire every time they think about it, and regret it so much that they can't wait to kill themselves. Wang Goro, it's not easy, isn't it? In fact, this is not very difficult for Mrs. Tang. Bingzhou is not far from Taiyuan, and Taiyuan is the clan of the Wang family, where the Wang family's influence is very large. Just before Ma Hongzhou was beaten, the Ma family had already received a heavy blow from Taiyuan. 2 children of the Ma family who were studying in Taiyuan hurried home. One of them was Ma Hongzhong's younger brother. He asked his parents anxiously, "I don't know what's wrong. There are bad words from the Wang family. My fourth brother and I will go there. Restaurants, all restaurants under the Wang family's name are not welcome. There are also poetry clubs. The disciples from the Wang family directly targeted us. I went to the door to ask, but I couldn't even get in. Father, the relationship between our family and the Wang family has not always been there. Is it good?" Father Ma changed his face when he heard the words, and asked, "Have you inquired why?" Ma Erlang frowned and said, "I just can't figure it out, but if I mention my sister-in-law, the Wang family will be even more angry." "Father, did the sister-in-law offend her mother's side?" Mother Ma's face darkened and she asked, "Is Mrs. Kui from the second room doing something wrong? She has always disliked the eldest daughter-in-law." Father Ma felt uneasy. Second room has no such ability, and Wang's family basically does not contact her parents' family now. How can she offend Kui's family? Did your elder brother know what happened to the Wang family?" Ma Erlang was also a little uneasy. "Impossible, isn't my sister-in-law treating her illness in the capital? By the way, where's my eldest brother?" "Your eldest brother has gone to Yangzhou, and the eldest lady of the Wang family invited a few of their brothers-in-law to gather together," Mother Ma said, and became more and more uneasy. She couldn't help but look at Father Ma. See you at 9. Forgot to update. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Zhu. Chapter 2458. The Ma family in Bingzhou seems to be experiencing a storm, and the Wang Jiaxiang is also not calm. Kui Shi waited anxiously, but her husband never came back, and the servants outside were waiting. Wang Saburo stepped in quickly. "Mother, father is still with the eldest uncle." Kui's face was pale. "He won't come back. Just hiding." Wang Sablang is the eldest son of Kui's family, and he was very embarrassed between his parents at this time, so he lowered his head and said nothing. Kui's eyes were red, and he took his hand and said, "Geng my mother really doesn't have a heart. At that time, because I was a little angry when I thought of your brother, I didn't want to see her very much, and it was normal for husband and wife to fight. Yes, which couple in this world doesn't quarrel? It's you and your daughter-in-law, don't you have a quarrel sometimes?" Wang Geng said, "But I won't beat people." He paused and said, "And it's not the first time that Ma Hongzhong has attacked, and he's beaten so hard, how could mother send someone back without a word?" Kui's face turned pale. "Mother knows it's wrong, you get your father back first, and I will apologize to him." "Mother, why don't you understand? You should apologize most to the sixth sister." Wang Gen noticed that his tone was too heavy, so he could not help but slowly said, "There are so many sisters in the clan, the big room is over there. Several sisters have been called to Yangzhou, obviously to deal with this matter. This is not just a family matter for our family. Kui Shi is only a prostitute, and she knows how much this matter has hit her and her children." Her face changed, and she quickly asked, "Wu Niang also followed Si Niang to Yangzhou, she?" Wang Geng lowered his head and said, "Mother, Lu Niang is also her sister, she has to do something." As the mother and son were talking, a nanny finally couldn't help but come in and saluted, "Madam, the carriages and horses are ready, if we don't leave, we will not be able to reach the station." Wang Geng said, "Mother, son, let's take you out of the city." Kui's face was pale, and he shook his head again and again, but Wang Genji grabbed his hand, and he said with red eyes, "This is impossible." The uncle said, "The Kui family can do it, you go back and ask your grandfather, son, I'll pick you up next month." Kui's heart was full of fear. She didn't want to go back to her parents' house, especially in this way. She has been married for more than 20 years, and she can count the number of times she has returned to her mother's house with 2 slaps. For that family, she mentions the glory on her face, but she has no sense of belonging. She was supported by Wang Geng into the car, she couldn't help holding his hand tightly, and she was unwilling to let go. Wang Geng could only get in the car and go with her, planning to send people out of the city. "Mother, don't worry, I will definitely pick you up." Kui shed tears. "Mother really knew it was wrong, I really knew it was wrong, I really didn't mean it at the time. As long as I thought about your brother's separation from me, my heart was burning like a fire. I wanted to see her so much, so I sent her back. How could I know that the Ma family would dare to bully her like this?" She didn't say a word for all these years. Wang Geng endured it, but still couldn't hold back. He supported her and whispered, "Mother, the Ma family has put her under house arrest, she can't pass the letter at all, and you sent her back, who else can she pass it on?" "What about the letter?" He said, "This courage of the Ma family was given by you, and it was given by our second room of the Wang family." Choi was startled. Only then did Wang Geng take away the anger on his face and said, "That's why the uncle and father are so angry. Don't make trouble now, go back to the Kui family for a while, and my son will pick you up next month." But if she was sent back like this, what would Mrs. Kui think of her? What face will she have in the future? Not only shameless at her parents' house, but also shameless at her husband's house? At this moment, Mrs. Kui could deeply understand the situation of Wang Rule at that time, and wished he would die on the spot. Why didn't she die then? Kui was startled by the thought that came out of his heart, and his hands and feet trembled for a while and he didn't speak. Wang Geng didn't care, thinking she was persuaded, and only got off the bus after sending her outside the city. Kui she couldn't help but grabbed him and asked, "You said, will your brother hate me more?" Wang Geng paused and said, "No, mother, don't think too much." He stepped back and let the convoy set off. At this time, Mr. Tang received several papers for the impeachment of Ma Feng, the governor of Dazhu, but they were all handed over from local governments, including the impeachment of the governors of Shuazhu and Hangzhou, and even the impeachment of the governor of the acting governor. Fold. Lord Tang couldn't help but open it to see, what kind of wrath did Ma Feng do? There is really no such thing as anger and resentment. It's just a matter of grabbing territory with the two neighboring states. In the process, there are some disgraceful methods, and there are some derelictions of duty. It is not big, but it is not small. Mr. Tang wrote it down, and summoned a subordinate to say, "Go and adjust the taxes of Dazhu over the past few years, as well as the official documents." "How long will it take?" Old Master Tang thought for a while and then said, "For those within 3 years, we will also find out the papers with impeachment, especially those in Shuazhu and Hangzhou." The subordinates went. Mr. Tang put these impeachment papers aside, and mentioned them when he went to a small court meeting with the emperor, and then said that he had asked his subordinates to investigate, and if it was serious, he might need to send officials to investigate on the spot. The emperor didn't take it too seriously, and waved his hand to show that he knew. At this time, the hangover Bai Shan and the others got up from the bed and ate a bowl of hot porridge in a dizzy manner, and then had someone lift the wooden couch under the tree in the yard and sit on it while basking in the sun days. Zhou Dalin came back from working outside with a hoe on his back. He sat blankly when he saw them, shook his head and turned away. He also said that he came to run Zhuangzi, this is to bask in the sun of Yangzhou. Man Bao didn't drink alcohol, so he was concentrating on eating dried fruit, eating very carefully. Bai Shan was basked in the sun, slowly regained his senses, and said to Man Bao, "I see you brought 3 big boxes back yesterday. Do you want to get involved with the Wang family's affairs?" Man Bao said, "I just see a doctor." Bai Shan understood, she was just seeing a doctor, at most watching the fun on the side. Bai Shan was relieved, he bent one leg and leaned on the couch relaxedly and said, "That's fine, I think Wang's family is in a mess. Wang Cheng, that is, Wang Wulang, he is not Wang Liuniang's younger brother, but I inherited. Yesterday Wang Wulang cried, so Bai Shan learned a lot from his mouth. Listen to what he said. There is also the matter of his biological mother in this matter, so he cried very sad yesterday. This man Bao knew, Lu Niangzi went back to her mother's house, but was sent back to Ma's house by her own aunt. She said, she has no parents, only an adopted younger brother in the family, and there is no separation of the second room, so her aunt can be the head of her family, and she will be sent back directly, so the Ma family has no fear. Yin Or was stunned holding the book and asked, why is this? It was him who became so ill, and he was taught to support the sisters in his family since he was a child, and his husband's family was not allowed to bully them. See you tomorrow. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2459. Man Bao scratched his head. Sister-in-law said that her aunt is a bit leftist, but I don't know much about it. Man Bao waved his hand and said, let's not talk about them, let's go play in the fields later. Bai Shan and the others have no opinion. After all, they hadn't been to Zhuangzi for more than a year. There has not been much change in Pu village, but the complexion on people's faces has improved a lot now they farm the work fields of Zhouman. If nothing else, if they eat a little rougher, they can be 70% full throughout the year. The rest of the grain can be sold to save some money, which will be used for the children's marriage in the future. Therefore, the villagers working in the fields smiled subconsciously when they saw Zhouman and greeted them enthusiastically. Man Bao said with an inexplicable look on his face that his work was going well, and Shangguan, he still likes it, right? After all, she has a lot of Shangguan, and there is no guarantee that everyone likes her. The villagers worshipped the gods and Buddhas in the sky, hoping that they would bless Zhouman with a smooth and prosperous official luck. Man Bao was a little flattered. The request of her family members for such a thing was reasonable, but she was not very familiar with these villagers. Asking gods and Buddhas needs to be worshipped. Even if there is no worship, she will definitely grab the share of other people's wishes. Anyway, she will not give the share of wishing to unfamiliar people. Every time I make a wish, it is not my own affairs, but the affairs of the people around me. Man Bao was moved, and Bai Shan dragged her away. After walking away, he said, what are you surprised about? They are asking you for a successful official career, but they are actually asking for success for themselves. He said, as long as your official luck is prosperous, then the job field will always be yours, and they will be able to keep farming. Man Bao, then I'm happy too. After thinking about it, she asked in a low voice, you said, if there are more people asking, will the gods and Buddhas really hear this wish, and then really make my official luck prosper? Bai Shan, don't you believe that there are gods and Buddhas in the world? Man Bao, if it's a good thing, you can still believe it? Not to mention Bai Shan, even Yin Or thinks she is too trivial. A group of people walked in the fields laughing and joking. They looked at the wheat fields, paddy fields, and various beans that had just sprung up. Manbao and the others went to see the experimental fields. Zhou Lizhong was also in Zhuangzi, just to introduce them. Now the experimental field in Zhuangzili has been extended to a large area, covering more than 12 acres, and Zhou Lizhong and his father are taking care of them. He took out the booklet and showed it to Man Bao, saying, this piece is the new seed that my aunt gave us during the first lunar month. Now that the seedlings have been planted, it seems that the seedlings have some lean meat, but now they have turned green, they are considered to have survived. He pointed to 2 more fields. This is the number 3 seed and number 2 seed that were left from last fall. Which type of seeds came from, and the yield can be traced back to the book. Including whether they are resistant to cold or drought during the growth process, or whether they need more water, and whether they attract insects. Zhou Lizhong has recorded them. Some were written by Zhou Man at the very beginning, and some were added by himself. Man Bao himself looked a little confused, but Zhou Lizhong remembered that, which field she went to, Zhou Lishong told her about the previous generation of the seeds. Bai Shan listened and sighed, if you are not good at reading, you can go to the Ming dynasty to study mathematics, and then try to enter the Sinong temple. Bai Shan said this for a while, then said with a snort, why don't you try it out? As soon as he heard Zhou Lishong's reading, he felt a little sluggish, and he couldn't help it, that's not good. I even learned many of the words I remember now. In terms of farming, Zhou Lishong is far inferior to Zhou Dalan. With the help of the tenants from Pu village, Zhou Lishong was not needed in the 10 mu of farmland, but why was he in charge in the end? Is it because his father doesn't know how to read? At present, Zhou Dalan only recognizes his name and some commonly used words. He is still in a state of knowing but not very good at writing. That's why Zhou Lishong came. After all, he has read books for 2 years, and has learned a lot of characters with his sister-in-law. He knows the basic characters. Even if he couldn't remember how to write some words, he could still carry his sister-in-law's thick Sci-fi book to look it up, and even if it didn't work out, he could ask his daughter-in-law. Up to now, Zhou Lishong has not only consolidated the characters he learned before, but also learned a lot of new characters. Let's not say whether he really knows how to count, and even if he does, who likes his dog-crawling characters? It's clear, I feel it's better to be a monarch. Man Bao, obviously there are no women to sign up. Zhou Lishong smiled at him, but he didn't mean to go anyway. Man Bao also felt that it was a little difficult for him to pass the exam, so he said, you should study first, then I will inquire about it, and see when there are a lot of people who want to take the test, then you can take the test. Bai Shan said, you can go back to Lujiang County to take the test. Bai Erlang was startled and looked at Bai Shan in surprise, are you going through the back door? Bai Shan couldn't help but pat him, what did you say? Am I that kind of person? Bai Shan and Zhou remarked, there are many people in the capital, and there are also many people who can read and write. Some people can't get into the Jinshi, and they can't get into the Mingjing, so they will choose Xiaoki, Mingzhu, and Mingfa. It is supposed to be more remote, and fewer people take the test. However, few people take the exam, and some people will take the exam, so in the capital, these courses can be filled with people, but it's different in small places. By Shandao, as far as I know, no one in Lujiang County has applied for the exam for several years in a row. You're a good mathematician, so no one has ever passed the exam. If you want, we can teach you later. There are not many books to be tested, including the 9 chapters Xuanjing 3 posts, 5 classics Xuanjing, 5 Cao Xuanjing, Xiahayang Xuanjing, Zhangqiujian Xuanjing, Zhoubai Xuanjing, Island Xuanjing, and Sun Tzu Xuanjing each have 1 post, additional numbers 6 posts, and Jigu Xuanjing 4 posts. If you have learned these books, you will definitely be in Lujiang County. Can pass. Zhou Li was dizzy. He knew both the 9 chapters Xuanjing and the 5 classics Xuanjing. He had studied with Mr. Zhuang, but he only learned the first point. That's enough, and now? Zhou Li swallowed heavily and looked at his sister-in-law, is it too late for me to start learning now? It's not too late, Man Bao said, how old are you? If you work half a century in your life, then you will have to work for another 30 years. After studying these books in 2 years, you will finish it? Zhou Lishong shook his head again and again, wishing to shake his head down and give it to him. Bai Erlang immediately said, you can't save others by yourself, this, at least 4 years. Zhou Lishong nodded again and again, and then whispered, maybe 6 years, or even longer. Yin he, I figured it out, I don't even have a rank, I'm most likely an official. So do you want to think about it again? See you at 6 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2460. The selection of officials for the big promotion, not to mention the system, is similar to the inspection system of the previous dynasty. The local recommendation is basically the children of the big family, otherwise it is also a powerful person, only a very small part will be a person with great reputation and great talent. Zhou Lishong is obviously not such a person. Then you can only go to the regular section. Among the regular subjects, Jinqi, Zhuokai, and Mingjing are more difficult to test, and they are the easiest. Mingjing. Lu Huan, who has read the book for more than 10 years, can pass it. The remaining Mingshu and Mingfa, calligraphy is too difficult. You don't need to ask Jolie to reread the book for a few years, and it is estimated that the examiner doesn't even want to read the paper. It is not easy to understand the law, so a thick book of the great Jin law has to be memorized word for word, not to mention that there are many other etiquette systems to memorize, even he dare not say that he can memorize it. Moreover, most of the people who came out of the Mingfa section entered the Ministry of Punishment and Dali Temple as partial officials, and the local people were assistants to the county magistrates, or directly served as county magistrates. As for Ming Xuan, he is an assistant to the master in the local area. It is even more difficult to be promoted than someone who was born in Mingfa, not to mention in the capital. Cao Ming Xuan is basically entering the 9 temples, 6 departments, and 3 prisons. Influent officials. If you are lucky, you may reach the rank of 5 or 6 in your life, or you can become a county official after accumulating certain qualifications. When Mr. Zhuang was rejected by Quazijian and the important Jinqi Mingjing department, he thought about taking the law department, but his reputation was so bad that he felt that even if he passed the exam, it would be difficult to get ahead. And a low-level official's salary is very small, it is better to be a staff member, so he left the capital. Now Zhou Lishong does not have the trouble of promotion and raising his family, so Bai Shan suggested that he go to the test. He said, if you can pass the exam, if you can grow this kind of grain, it will be a great achievement, and you can go directly to Sinong Temple. By then, he won't be a rude clerk. Zhou Lishong asked, what if I don't pass the exam? Then when you grow this grain, I'll go to the back door and ask for credit for you, Man Bao said, but it will cost money to go through the back door, probably. Man Bao counted with his fingers, then looked at Bai Shan. Bai Shandao, for a foreigner, 20,000 load of food. Jolie's feet softened, and he immediately waved his hands, no, no. He gritted his teeth and said, then, shall I learn? Man Bao was satisfied, and said to him, I'll go back and find the book for you. If you don't understand, you can ask Mr. Zhuang, or you can ask me and Bai Shan. They must have studied the 9 chapters Xuanjing. Just ask them. There are many people studying in the old Zhou family now. Jolie responded with a guilty conscience. Yin Or looked at Bai Shan, then looked at Zhou Man, and finally looked at Zhou Lishong, who was sweating and distressed for food, and decided not to tell him. Must be able to donate. But it is not so troublesome to be an official. Find a relationship, first put people in the yamen to be a fast catcher, and then mention that you will be an errand under the chief secretary, and you will be justifiable if you work for 2 or 3 years. With Zhou Man's current connections and relationships, he doesn't need to spend money at all. However, Yin Or held back and didn't say anything, neither did Man Bao and Bai Shan, but Bai Erlang and Lu Huan on the side really didn't understand, so Zhou Lishong thought that there was only one way to go, so his skin was stretched tightly, feeling white noodles are not so tasty anymore. Now these rice seedlings are still seedlings, except for the thickness and the degree of greenness, they can't see anything, so she wandered around and went back. Bai Erlang suggested, let's go out on a green trip tomorrow. Lu Huan said, I heard that there is a temple in Yangzhou, and the scenery is good. Man Bao gave a shudder, and immediately said, don't go. When she saw the temple, she thought of King Gong's legs. Bai Shan endured a smile and said, I know there is a good place. We can go there for a spring outing, prepare something today, and have a picnic tomorrow. Man Bao breathed a sigh of relief and nodded again and again. That's right, there are temples in the capital. Can there be a Hyogyo temple? We'll just find a lawn for a horse ride. They were at ease and happy, and the group of five spent this rare holiday beautifully. Ma Hongzhong in Yangzhou City was stopped and beaten again when he was out of the city. He was injured again, but this time he did not dare to stay and recuperate. Looking at the attitude of the Wang family, I'm afraid they won't let it go, so I don't know what's going on at home. Ma Hong was anxious in the center, so he hurried back to Bingzhou without even taking care of his injuries. Wang Xiniang and the others are also leaving. Wang Wuniang and Wang Wulang will go back to Taiyuan with them, but Wang Ruol, the client, wants to return to the capital. Seeing her worried face, Wang Xiniang said, Don't worry, the Ma family bullies the soft and fears the hard. You are not in their hands now, they will definitely pay close attention to Kong and they will never dare to treat him badly. Wang Ruol said, I know, but I also asked the fourth sister to pass a message for me and the Ma family. The child is good, no matter what happens to Wang's side, there is still a little bit of affection on my side. If the child is not good, I will live with them forever. Wang Ruol said plainly, and Wang Xiniang heard her determination, nodded and said, I understand, you can just rest assured. Wang Cheng didn't think so, and said dissatisfiedly, Sixth sister, do you want to continue to live with them if they hold Kong Wang Ruol said flatly, it depends on whether they can afford to wait. It doesn't matter if I am recuperating in the capital now. She will need to be raised for 4 months at a minimum. If she does not recover well, it is possible to raise her for another half a year. She can wait, but can the Ma family wait? All she wanted was that the Ma family had a glimmer of hope, so that she wouldn't jump over the wall and do anything to her son. Wang Ruol watched them go away, and he was worried in his heart, and it was difficult to settle down. Madame Tang stretched out her hand to hold her hand and comforted her, Don't be afraid, the Ma family used to think that no one in the Wang family was in charge of you, so they dared to do whatever they wanted. Sample. Wang Ruol nodded slightly. Ms. Tang stood with her under the long pavilion and watched the carriage go away. After a while, she said, Since the reconciliation has been decided, you and Wulang should get closer. She said, Although he is the son of your uncle and aunt, he is also your younger brother, and he inherits the incense of your parents. Wang Ruol squeezed the handkerchief tightly in his hand, and said after a while, Big sister, tell me, how will our second house be separated after this? Her father and uncle have a good relationship, so the second room has never been separated, and it is too late. My parents didn't separate. My grandmother was always there. Later, my parents left before my grandmother, and my grandmother was even more reluctant to split the family. But the grandmother is gone now, and Wang Cheng also married a wife, but because he is an adoptive, the aunt has been reluctant to separate the family, and even wanted to bring the son back. It is also because of these disputes that the relationship between her and Wang Cheng has not been very good in recent years. The two brothers and sisters have not been in contact for a long time. Madame Tang raised her eyebrows, thought for a while, and said, If it was before, it would have been difficult for our big room to interfere in your second room's affairs, but this time Kui's has gone too far, and you have to go back to Ning, and you should not want to live together. Yes, I will go back and write a letter to my father and ask him to mention it to my uncle. See you at 9. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2461. Wang Ruol breathed a sigh of relief, and bowed his knees and said, Thank you, big sister. Madame Tang smiled, patted her hand and said, Lu Niang, if you want to say bitterness, Wulang is not much better than you, he is probably more bitter than you in his heart. Mrs. Kui has done something wrong, facing you, he is probably the most uncomfortable, and you will write a few more letters with him when you go back, and between siblings, come and go, the more times, the feelings will come back. She said, I remember that in the past, your sister and brother had a very good relationship, even better than Wu Niang and him. Wang Liuniang and Wang Wulang are brothers and sisters. Wang Liuniang twitched the corners of her mouth and said, I know. Wang Liuniang and Wang Liuniang were about the same age, the two cousins were only 3 months apart, and Wang Cheng was 2 years younger than them. At that time, Wang Liuniang's father, Wang Wulang, hadn't had an accident yet, so both husband and wife were still looking forward to having children. At that time, Wang Chenqi was the cutest when he was 7 or 8 months old. The fifth lady liked it very much. The child can attract the boy to reincarnate, so she likes to hold him very much. After going back and forth, Wang Liuniang, who was only 3 years old, became acquainted with this cousin. Later, her father had an accident on the battlefield and was sure that there would be no more children. Her grandparents always liked to send Wang Cheng to her home. There are 2 brothers in the second room, and the elder brother Wang Pei is a director at home, but Wang Feng is out of office, and his official career is still prosperous. Wang Ji, one of the representatives of the Wang family in Beijing, was far inferior to Wang Feng at that time. Moreover, Wang Feng also came from the direct branch. Although the big room was separated from the second room by 1 floor, he supported him. At that time, the family's resources were slightly tilted towards Wang Feng. Therefore, Wang Feng did not have a son, which was not a small thing in the family at that time. He doesn't even need to speak, his parents have already spoken, and his family in the second room is bound to be adopted. The most suitable candidate at that time was Xiao Wangcheng. He was the youngest son of Wang Feng's own elder brother. He was the most suitable in terms of blood, relationship, and age. But Kui was unwilling. If the mother is unwilling, then this matter has been dragged on. Later, Wang Liuniang gradually grew up, and Wang Feng estimated that her daughter needed a brother to help her, so she began to select suitable children in the family to adopt. Others don't know it, but Wang Rule knows it. Her mother once told her in private that her great-aunt was very greedy. She wanted what her father had, but she didn't want her son. Because their second room is not separated, I think that even if they can't continue, the contacts and resources under Wang Feng's hands will belong to her 2 sons in the future. Who knew that Wang Feng would want to find a child from the side branch to adopt? At that time, her parents had already watched several boys, and they took her to watch it together. In fact, they had almost chosen a person, but at this time, Kui finally relented and was willing to let Wang Cheng adopt. At that time, Wang Cheng was not called Wang Cheng. His grandfather and grandmother changed his name directly after the adoption. The mother said that this was because the grandfather and grandmother were expressing their dissatisfaction with their uncle and aunt. For 7 years. If they keep pushing and refusing aggressively, then the anger of the grandfather and grandmother will always disappear, and maybe they will still admire them and love their children. It is a pity that they still gave Wang Cheng to their family in the end, but they asked their father to bring the third brother Wang Geng to cultivate by his side. Wang Rule lowered her eyes to cover the light in her eyes, and twitched the corners of her mouth in disdain. It was also because of this that she always felt a little bit sorry for this increasingly depressed younger brother. It was less than 2 years after he adopted him. Her father died unexpectedly. Her mother couldn't bear the blow and also died. Her adoptive parents were gone, and her biological parents couldn't go back, because of the adoption and the extras they mentioned. Conditions: Wang Cheng has always had a bad relationship with them. Then, my grandfather couldn't bear the blow and died, and all the people who were in charge of their second room were gone. In the past, Wang Rule didn't want to renew the estrangement between their biological mother and son. Knowing that Ms. Kui did not like her contact with Wang Cheng, she seldom asked about Wang Cheng since her parents died. But now, there was a dim light in her eyes, and she felt that the elder sister was right. Moreover, she also needs to have a backer at her mother's house. Wang Rule had a final decision in his mind. He lifted the car window and looked out. He saw an open space at the foot of the mountain in the distance. More than a dozen people riding on their horses screamed and rushed towards them. Mrs. Tang, who was sitting on the side, also heard the shouts, so she leaned over to look out, and saw Zhou Man and the others galloping towards the side from a distance. No, not at them, because they were soon in a field reined the horse before. Their voices were blown over by the wind. Oh, it all ran into the fields. Your archery skills are too bad. It's like you can shoot, don't you miss it too? Don't be noisy, it's gone. Let's go up the mountain to see, maybe there's more. So the five of them were about to turn their horses' heads to leave, and Madame Tang stuck her head out and shouted, "Don't you know that spring hunting is prohibited at this time?" Man Bao and the others were startled, and they turned to look quickly. Seeing that it was Mrs. Tang, they were relieved and came over to say hello. "Sister-in-law, are you going back to Beijing?" Madame Tang got out of the car, waved her hand and fanned the unpleasant smell on the road, and said, "Why are you running horses on the official road?" Man Bao pointed to the distance and said, "It's not the official road, we ran at the foot of the mountain, there is a large lawn with sparse trees, we can run freely, but we saw a grey rabbit, but it was fat, just let it run away." Madame Tang went with them. The guards spread out a mat under a tree with melon and fruit snacks on it, apparently they had eaten here before. Madame Tang asked Wang Rule to sit down, and they were not in a hurry to return to the capital. "You guys are quite comfortable." Mrs. Tang sat on the edge of the mat and sighed deeply. "It's better to be a girl, you don't have to be tired at home. If you want to run a horse, you can run a horse, and if you want to have a picnic, you will have a picnic. It is camping here at night. Go back tomorrow and act like a spoiled child, and the matter will pass." Man Bao looked puzzled. "You can do it now." "Not now," Madame Tang said, "I've been out for 3 days, and there are still children at home, how can I stay away for a long time?" She sighed. "At most, you can rest here for half a day, and you have to go back in the afternoon." Man Bao looked sympathetic. Madame Tang glanced at her. "You don't have to sympathize with me, you're almost there too." Man Bao immediately said, "That's not possible, that is, I will get married in the future. As long as I take a break, if I like it, I will definitely be able to come and have a picnic, right?" She turned her head and asked Bai Shan. Bai Shan nodded, "Yes." Mrs. Tang seemed to be smiling but not smiling, and said to her, "Then let's look at the future." They didn't have to wait for a long time, they took their leave and went back, and Bai Shan started to wait for an official at the Ministry of Personnel. He went there on the same day, and he was assigned to the Hanlin Academy on the same day, and he could walk in front of the imperial court. Even Lu Huan had to wait 2 more days for a 9th-rank official to go to the Ministry of Works, not to mention other people. Some people may have to wait for the first half of the year, or even longer, to get their official positions. Before that, they need to wait in renting a house in the capital. See you tomorrow. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2462. Early in the morning, Man Bao put on his official uniform and was ready to go out. When he got to the front yard, he saw Bai Shan also dressed and waiting for her. She trotted forward, raised her smile and asked, "Why are you so fast? Have you been waiting for me for a long time?" Bai Shan shook his head and smiled, "It's only been a while." Bai Erlang on the side reminded impatiently, "Hurry up, I'm going to be late for entering the palace." The 3 got into the car. "I just came home yesterday afternoon." After playing for a few days, Man Bao was still a little tired, so he took a nap in the rickety car. When they arrived at the imperial city, Bai Shan got off the car first, and then the car continued to send Manbao and Bai Erlang to the gate of the palace. Manbao is going to go to the great court meeting, while Bai Erlang is going to go to school in Chongguan Hall. He was still a little sad, immersed in the grief that the two little friends could go home from the palace every day and go shopping and play every day, but he would be locked in the palace. Manbao comforted him, "Don't be sad, you will have an exam in a few months, you should hurry up and study. If you pass the exam this time, you won't have to go to the palace to study in winter, but if you fail the exam, after you and Ming reach your marriage, you may continue to be a companion to the prince." This idea was a little scary, and Bai Erlang suddenly woke up. Manbao continued, "If you keep failing the exam, His Majesty might let you accompany you to study in the palace, just as Mingde can still stay in the capital. Think about it, if you haven't passed the exam in 5 or 6 years, then you will continue to study with your son." Bai Erlang was stunned when he heard it, and when he returned to Chongguan Museum, he was completely stunned. Yin-or couldn't help looking at him. "What's the matter with you? Why did you lose your mind as soon as you entered the palace?" Bai Erlang covered his chest and said, "It's terrible." Yin-or Eiffel ? What is scary? Manbao didn't know that he had frightened Bai Erlang, so he went all the way to the main hall to attend the grand meeting, and then went back to the Thai hospital to work. The emperor has asked them to find the testers of all ages they need. If it is suitable, they may start the test again next month. When the results of this test are obtained, if they are good, then they can start going out after the new year. Inoculated with cowpox. Because looking at the test results, they have to wait for time. While they were waiting, they watched how the Wang family cleaned up the Ma family step by step. Of course, this incident didn't make much noise on the surface, but in private, many people knew about it. Unfortunately, after Bai Shan entered the Hanlin Academy, he would go to the palace every day to listen to the propaganda, and what he did was to give the emperor a book, record the edicts and so on. So he knew that the censor station had sent someone to Daesu to investigate the governor's dereliction of duty, and after confirming that this was indeed the case, he moved him to the left as Sima of Kizhu, and dropped 2 ranks at once. This one is Ma Hongzhang's uncle, and he is the most promising person in their Ma clan. It took him 8 years to go from Sima to the prefect. The imperial decree for demotion was drafted by Bai Shan, and then sent to Mengxia province for review. After leaving the Mengxia province, Bai Shan took a detour and walked back to the imperial hospital. Manbao was about to go to the harem for a consultation. When he saw him, he raised his hand to say hello and asked curiously, "Why did you come this way?" Just about to go back to the Taiji palace, Bai Shan was delighted with her, and couldn't help but share with her now. As for the Wang family, the Kui family is gone. Because the fault of the Spurs' history is not too small, not too big, it is to compete with the 2 nearby states for land and people, and there are some derelictions of duty, and the government is stricter, but his strictness is also within the scope of the law. It's just not so friendly to the military and civilians under the rule. But serious management is not necessarily bad. With the emperor's always lenient attitude, he is probably Shenxian, and it's enough to let the other party change it. When your majesty mentioned this, Li Zhou Sankai said that Daesu was a frontier, and the people there were tough, and they should have been tolerant. Waiting for it, only in this way can we subdue the people and make the army and the people agree with them, but the history of the Spurs did the opposite, and nothing can be seen in a short period of time, but over time, I am afraid that the people will be resentful, and then there will be some natural and man-made disasters. Yes, it is easy for the military and the people to turn against each other. Unlike the previous emperors, the emperor who was also a rebel would not kill the rebels with one shot, especially the ordinary people who participated in the rebellion. He believes that there are only 2 types of rebellion between the army and the people. One is when someone is bewitched and forced to rebel. For the other, the person who leads the charge should be questioned. This person is a heinous person. One is that after being unable to survive, one has to rebel and seek a lifelong path. In this one, the emperor and local officials are the first offenders. Therefore, when it comes to the rebellion of the people, the emperor will not blindly accuse these people of being stupid and rebellious, but he will think about it seriously. After a while, he feels that Zhou Sankai is justified, so he decides to transfer the spur history from days who, since he acts if it is harsh, it should be placed in affluent places, such as the Jiangnan area where it is difficult to control, and where various illegal and criminal activities occur frequently in private but are not exposed. It just so happened that the governor of Chuzhou was accused of corruption, so His Majesty proposed to let him go, but Li Zhou Sankai said that Chuzhou was close to Yangzhou, and the salt tax in the south of the Yangtze River was abnormal. Indiscriminately making people, in the end, I picked Chuzhou, and I was also downgraded from the prefect to the Sima. Man Bao asked humbly, this Li Zhou Sankai. It's the son-in-law of the Kui family. 5 of the 10 officials in the DPRK are directly or indirectly related by marriage to the Kui family. Bai Shan said, since the Kui family has taken action, this matter will be over easily. Do you want to tell the sister-in-law? It's better to go out less. It's better to be quiet now. Man Bao nodded again and again, I'll go to the school's sister-in-law when I wait for the next office. Bai Shan went back to work. His current position is next to the living room. The two of them are sitting on the left and the right. One is recording the emperor's words and deeds, and the other is listening to the emperor and others discussing politics. Going to find a book for the emperor that he can't find, and possibly being called by the emperor for political affairs, is really much more tiring than taking a class. Secretary Bai, who was just entering the workplace, oh no, he was walking in vain, and he was very uncomfortable. But in the eyes of Wei Ji and others, Bai Shan is very adaptable, but he performs well. He can answer the emperor's questions in just a few days. Even if he answers poorly sometimes, he can at least know. What are they talking about, and what are they saying? Wei Ji expressed his satisfaction. The emperor was also very satisfied. He liked to talk to him recently, so when the ministers all retired, the emperor left Bai Shan and asked him, why do you think there are too many cases for impeaching the governor of Daesu recently? This fellow Li Meng, the handling is also stricter, is there something outside that I don't know about? Bai Shan didn't expect that the emperor would ask him such a thing. This, isn't a government affair? So he didn't know how to answer for a while. He looked up at the emperor subconsciously. The emperor couldn't hear his answer. See you at 6 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2463. That's not true. Bai Shan was not Man Bao and had no experience in gossip with the emperor, so he was confused and decided to tell the truth after a while. Your Majesty, this is someone's private matter, I can't wait to talk about it behind my back. The emperor was stunned. This was the first time he had been rejected like this, so he was refreshed and more interested, and immediately said, why is it a private matter? The emperor said very spiritually, didn't you listen to Wei Ji and the others? Heaven's family is selfless, and they have to talk about it even after eating half a bowl of rice. Now it has involved the promotion and transfer of officials, where is the private matter? He stared at Bai Shandao, obviously you know the truth, tell me quickly, what's the secret behind this? Could it be that the governor of Daesu rejected any request from Li Meng and others to offend them, so many people have impeached him recently? When Bai Shan heard the emperor's guess, he quickly said, Your Majesty has misunderstood. He paused and said, I don't know much about it, but the Ma family and the Wang family are in-laws, and there is a nephew in the history of the Spurs who married the 6th wife of the Wang family. Bai Shan took Man Bao to see Wang Rule's illness, and concluded that she had miscarried many times and had broken bones in many places on her body. She didn't dare to bring up Mrs. Tang's slander that Ma Hongzhou went to Yangzhou for a meal, but she also mentioned Wang's attitude. Now Wang's wants to cancel the engagement, but Wang's daughter loves her son and is reluctant to separate from her youngest son. So they're fighting for kids now. Generally speaking, when a husband and wife are separated, their children follow their fathers, and very few women can take their children away from their husband's house. Obviously, the Wang family did not want to give up the child. As soon as the emperor understood, he thought for a moment and then asked doubtfully, "What does Li Meng have to do with the Wang family? I haven't heard of them being any better." Bai Shan said, "Aren't they all in-laws with Kui's family? Maybe they were asked by in-laws." The emperor narrowed his eyes, and Li Meng's temper was also very hard, but if his in-laws asked him, I'm afraid it would be difficult for him to say these words in private discussions, right? However, he also knew that Bai Shan was young and had little qualifications, and it was not easy to talk about these things. Anyway, he already knew the most important thing, so he waved Bai Shan to retire. As soon as Bai Shan left, he said to Gu Zhong, "Let Yin Li come to the palace." Humph, Bai Shan didn't dare to say it. Didn't Yin Li dare to say it? As for whether Yin Li knew about this question, the emperor really didn't doubt it. The matter was all over the court. How could Yin Li not know? Yin Li really knew. Not only did he know, he knew better than Bai Shan's human. He took a sip of tea first, and then he talked to the emperor, not only the emperor, but also the living master who was holding a pen to record. He was a little confused for a while, and he didn't know how to record this gossip in a short book. It's not good if it's too short. What if later generations can't find the cause and effect after looking at the history books? If it is too long, it will take up too much space, and it will be bad if it loses the focus. Although he was thinking wildly in his heart, Zihui Hulang still wrote down all these things. Yin Li noticed this because Madame Tang and the others were beating people in Yangzhou. Although he only guarded the capital, Yangzhou was the capital and was within his control. Mrs. Tang and the others beat people in the street, and his son was at the scene. It would be hard for him not to pay attention. With this attention, it was found that both Wang and Kui were in conflict with the Ma family, especially Kui, who had a posture of crushing him to death. So Yin Li sent someone to investigate, not only found out that Wang's daughter was beaten under house arrest, but also found out that Wang sent Kui's daughter back to Kui's. The smile on the emperor's face became weaker and weaker, and he asked, "Has the Wang family never noticed such a violent person?" Yin Li sighed and said, "Wang Liuniang's parents are both deceased, and there is only one younger brother in the family, and she is studying abroad, and she does not come home all year round. When she returns to her parents' house, she is entertained by her uncle and her aunt is the daughter of the Kui family who was sent back to the Kui family." The emperor understood immediately. Yin Li said, "The boudoir girl is trapped in the backyard, and there are not many people who can use it. Once the channel for transmitting news is cut off, and there is no one at home who cares and greets, it is normal for outsiders to not see the abnormality in 3 or 5 years. If the Ma family is smart, it would be fine to completely subdue Wang Liuniang in the past few years, or kill them directly. I am afraid that people outside will not feel abnormal, but they have to use the power of Wang's in-laws, so they are reluctant to kill. And Wang Liuniang has not been subdued, so the trouble will come out." The emperor snorted and said directly, "This is Ma Hongzhou, he is also studying." "Yes, I took advantage of Wang's power to study in Bingzhou University. I heard that I took the Mingjing exam this year, but I never took it." "You can't pass the exam even at this age. Obviously you don't have talent, you don't have talent, you don't have morals, and staying in the school is a waste of places. I'll let Bingzhou get rid of it." But what the emperor cares about most is not this matter, What he cares most about is Kui's attitude. Kui's has lost a big face. Yes, not many people know about it. The matter has been suppressed, but Kui's is indeed helping Wang to suppress the Ma family. The emperor pondered, and said after a while, "Go, find someone to file a seal, then impeach the Spershi for being lax, and expose the matter." "Yin Li, your majesty, that's not the Spershi family. The Spershi and his brother have long since separated." "I don't care, I want to be impeached, and I don't need to name the mistakes that Kui's daughter made in it. Anyway, just say that Wang's daughter was beaten badly. I'll give up tomorrow, and go find someone." The emperor was preparing to do something in secret, but he still felt a little uncomfortable when he returned to the harem, so he and the queen said, "When Mingda Changjiu gets married, we will give them more personal guards, just 800, no, how about 1,000 people?" He said, so, if they were bullied at their husband's house, they wouldn't have no way to ask for help. "Empress, your majesty, guarding 1,000 people is the regulation of the prince's mansion." "What's wrong with making Mingda a prince?" he said. "She's weak, so she can't be wronged." The queen said helplessly, "The Bai family won't bully Mingda." "Do you think Bai looks like someone who can bully Mingda? You gave her so many people, and she has to find a place to settle them. Isn't it a waste of talent?" Moreover, the courtiers would not agree. The queen swallowed the words and did not dare to mention it at this time, otherwise it would be counterproductive to arouse his dog temper. The emperor said, "Waste is wasted, only 1,000 people, I can still afford it." He said, "You don't know how bad people are outside. How does the Wang family compare to the Ma family? Just like our family's comparison with the Bai family, when Wang Feng chose the Ma family to be his in-laws, he must have thought that the Ma family was inferior. He didn't dare to bully his daughter, and as a result, even a maid in the Ma family dared to humiliate the daughter of the Wang family. Yin Li is right, the boudoir girl is trapped in the back house. If there is no power outside, once she is caught, she will have no way to ask for help." As long as the emperor entered Mingda, he was so shocked and sad that he wanted to cry. With red eyes, he said, "As long as I think that Mingda will be bullied in the future, I can't even pass the word back to the palace. She is suffering outside, and we are still in the palace thinking that she is all right. My heart hurts too much." Queen. See you at 9. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2464. The queen hesitated for a while, but she was not afraid that Mingda and Changyu would be bullied by their in-laws. The Wei family was clean and honest. If Wei Ji's character ranked second in the Great Jin, no one would dare to rank first. The son he taught, no matter how talented he is, his character is still decent, at least he is a gentleman. She was only worried about Changyu bullying others, never worried about others bullying Changyu. As for Mingda, not much more. The Bai family are all honest and honest people. She agreed at the time, and it was precisely this point, and another point was Bai Er's affection for Mingda. However, they still need to have personal guards, not to prevent them from being bullied by their husband's family, but it is easier for them to do whatever they want when they are outside. Known daughter Emoruomua, she still knows the temperament of her two daughters, and some personal guards can be used by her side. But 1,000 is not necessary. According to the regulations, the princesses of the Jin dynasty have personal guards, ranging from 80 to 500, depending on the emperor's favor and rewards for them. At present, the emperor's elder sister, Princess Zhao, has the largest number of personal guards. However, Princess Zhao has already passed away. Most of the remaining princesses have 200 or 300 personal guards. It's not that the emperor is stingy, but that these personal guards are also paid by the treasury, so except for the particularly favored princess, few people can get the highest grade of 500. The emperor originally selected 500 personal guards for Mingda, but now he feels that 500 is not enough. Didn't the Wang family have a dowry? That must be there, but she is still being bullied. Why? That is naturally because there are not enough dowries. If she has enough dowries, can she be defeated by the Ma family in one fell swoop? It's a pity that the queen doesn't want to, otherwise he can afford to give her 500 more. The big deal is that the extra people will go to his private treasury, or let Mingda keep it himself, and give her some more property. That is, she did nothing, and the money she came out was enough for her to pay for the army. The emperor planned in his mind, and said to the queen, Yin Li mentioned before that the capital was crowded, and even the houses in Yangzhou were sparse and crowded. Many people who came to Beijing had to live in the villages below, and it was very inconvenient to travel. How about expanding Yangzhou city and building Xincan Street? The queen looked at him and asked, Where does your majesty want to expand? The emperor coughed lightly and said, I look at the southwest of Yangzhou, which is not bad. It is close to the Wei River, the land is flat and wide, and it is also close to the capital. By the way, Yangzhou city is not far from Liang, and Liang is far away from Wanyan. The county is close, and if it is expanded, Yangzhou and the capital can be almost connected in the future. This way, the closer you come to Beijing, the more convenient it will be for travelers. Although the empress knew that he had selfish intentions, she thought for a while that it was beneficial to the people, so she smiled and nodded, but she still reminded, Your Majesty, don't go too far. The emperor was excited, nodded again and again, stretched out his hand to hold the queen's hand and said, I know, you can rest assured. The emperor mentioned this to the courtiers the next day. Wei Ji and the others also knew that the capital is crowded, especially now that Kuatai and Minnan are coming to Chang'an. More and more people come to Chang'an every year. They come here every year to study, do business, and work. People have. Rich people can naturally buy and rent houses in the capital, but what about people who have no money or assets? Even the locals may be crowded out of the capital. 2 years ago, Wei Ji proposed to expand the city of Chang'an, but it was shelved due to various problems. Now it is not the expansion of the capital, but the expansion of Yangzhou is not bad. Yangzhou is a companion capital, not far from the capital, and it can be reached in 2 hours, and the expansion site chosen by the emperor is closer. When the road is repaired, it is basically an hour from Xincan to Wanyan County, which is very convenient. There are many poor students studying in the capital. So everyone discussed it. As for the scope, people from the Ministry of Household and Ministry of Industry have to survey it together. After reporting the data, it will be handed over to the officials of the DPRK and China for negotiation. This major event came to an end, and the person Yin Li found went up to impeach the Spurs Shiji's family for being lax, and brought the matter that the Wang family, the Kui family and the Ma family together in private, to the public. The expressions of the ministers in the court did not change much, but they complained in their hearts, and they were amazed. Among them, the most seriously injured is not the Wang family, not even the Ma family, but the Kui family. Although it was not specified in the booklet, anyone who inquired a little knew that Wang's daughter was sent back to the Ma's family by her aunt Kui's, and that was why the Ma family tortured Wang's daughter unscrupulously. When people pity Wang's daughter, they can't help but question Kui's upbringing. For Kui, who now depends on his in-laws to survive, it is a fatal blow. In the capital, the Kui family's daughters in the back houses of each family hated Wang Kui's family for a while, but at this time they couldn't do anything, and they had to pretend to be the same enemy to deal with the Ma family first. Mrs. Tang did not expect that this matter would be brought to the court, they were already low-key enough. Therefore, he couldn't help frowning, a little worried. Master Tang smiled and reassured her, Don't worry, when things come out, Kui can't let it go. Don't worry, even if your father doesn't move, Kui will not let the Ma family go, they will definitely take this matter. It's better that all the faults are on the Ma family. He added, Now what you have to do is to keep an eye on the Ma family, and don't let them jump over the wall and do something to the child. Madame Tang said, I have already sent a letter to my father. She sighed, as soon as this happened, our Wang family became famous. Master Tang smiled and said, there is still Kui Shi in front, don't be afraid. Mrs. Tang gave him a sideways look and said, what's there to be happy about? We also have a lot of Kui's daughters in the Wang family's back house. Not to mention, her grandmother's surname is Kui. Master Tang touched his nose and said, it's my husband's fault, I shouldn't be so gloating about misfortune, then let's send a letter of comfort to my father. Go away, don't you think that his father is not bothered enough? In fact, the patriarch Wang was really not too bothered. Taiyuan was not very far from the capital, and the news was always delivered faster. He only received the news that Ma Hong returned to Bingzhou with a bruised nose and a bruised face. Bingzhou is not far from Taiyuan, and the Ma family still lives in a county close to Taiyuan, and the horse will arrive in an hour. Before Ma Hongzhong entered the county seat, Wang Cheng stopped the people and beat him again. This time, Mrs. Tang didn't stop him in awe. After the fight, Wang Cheng went home with the fourth and fifth sisters. The patriarch Wang met them in person, and after asking Ma Hongzhong's reaction, as soon as he got the news from the capital, he summoned a steward and said, go to Ma's house and take young master Biao out. Wang Geng was stunned for a moment and then said, uncle, take the child out at this time, if the Ma family sue us for stealing the child.